Hi everyone, I'm Roger Philip and the game is on. This week we have the European elections of 2019 and the 23rd the Dutch and the British are going to vote, and then 3 days later it's going to be the rest of Europe. It's going to be the 26th, and I'm doing a series of videos about the elections, and I think it's going to be really different this time. There's really something to vote for. There's a choice also about the European Union itself. You could say, because there are a lot of new parties that are critical or skeptic towards the European Union, and of course you have the established parties. But the political situation in the West is definitely changing. We've seen that in the United States. Where Donald Trump, of course, challenged the political establishment as an outsider, and he won. And in Europe, you have the rise of populist parties, nationalist parties, conservative parties, also left-wing parties, grassroots parties, green parties. Often they are really after sovereignty. And so you could sort of all put together as sovereignty parties or sovereignty movements. Now I'm going to follow the elections, and I'm going to find out more actually about the reasons behind these movements. So why are these movements coming up? What is exactly the background, and what is the political ideology of these movements? What do they stand for? So I'm going to look into a couple of European nations, the Netherlands, of course, and I'm going to talk about the political system of the European Union on its own, because it's really a specific system. It's more complex than the United States, for instance, or just an ordinary nation, which has a government and a parliament, you know. So there's much more involved. It's more complex. I'm going to try and explain that. Also for Americans who are watching, as well as the Europeans, of course. And in this process, I just simply, for myself as well, like to just investigate and try to be neutral and try to find out maybe more about the rest of Europe, about the other Europeans. I mean, it's going to be interesting. So what is the political situation in the Netherlands? Well, something really unique has happened. It's really amazing, but the Prime Minister, Mark Rutte, who is the Prime Minister for a long time now in the Netherlands, about 7 or 8 years, I think, even, leader of the neoliberal party, he challenged Thierry Baudet of Forum for Democracy, who is the new kid on the block, for a duel, for a debate tonight, and that's really amazing. I've never seen him do things like that. He had to read everything from paper as well. He normally never does that, and so he announced that statement, and he said, "Well, Forum for Democracy is the biggest party. They want an exit." That means that they want to leave the European Union, which is sort of true. But anyway, he wants to debate with him. And the reason for that, of course, is that he is a center-right party, and Forum for Democracy is a bit more on the right. So they're each other's competitors. And Forum for Democracy has won the last election. I would say it's not a bad thing. I think it's really interesting to see, because it's going to be a real face-off against the antagonist and protagonist of this whole thing. And you can change that if you want. I don't know who you are in favor of, a neoliberal or a conservative, or a neoliberal or a conservative liberal. I don't know. But these two are really, they are really more opposite-like than you think. And I think Mark Rutte represents also the whole political center, which is pro-European Union, and is, you might say, even say that the establishment that Forum for Democracy is fighting against. Also, there's this difference between vision, and character even. The vision is, Mark Rutte is saying, well, the European Union is a pragmatic project. Thierry Baudet is saying, Thierry Baudet is more of a visionary. He has this conservative vision, or conservative liberal vision of society, backed up by academic, literary stuff. He's talking about the owl of Minerva is spreading its wings in the fall of the evening, something like that. Those were the first sentences in his election speech when he won. So yeah, there's a difference there. A big difference. So it's the neoliberal against the conservative as well. It's it's about character as well. Although they are both upbeat, they're sympathetic, they are optimistic, and stuff like that. But Mark Rutte is more of a manager. He's the manager. He's the top manager. He comes from Shell management, as far as I remember, or was it Unilever? I don't know, one of the two. And Thierry Baudet is a writer. He's a romantic writer. It's really good to watch, I think, and I'm really curious about how this is going to end. I want to talk to you about who is Thierry Baudet, because he is an important figure here. He's 36 years old. He's very eloquent. He's a conservative. He's a writer, an intellectual. He's very flamboyant. He's a bit of a dandy, you might say. But ideologically, what is he like? That's more important. He is actually a conservative. He's very influenced by conservative thinkers like de Tocqueville. He was a French aristocrat. I think it's the 18th century, 17, something like that. The other one is Roger Scruton. He's a good friend of Roger Scruton, the English conservative and philosopher. He's a conservative, but he is a conservative like Edmund Burke. It's step by step. It's a moderate conservatism. It's an organic like conservatism. It's like, that's what you might call it. Now, Forum for Democracy is also a cultural movement. They have their own media. They have their own training facilities, education, cultural movements. It's really a broad spectrum, grassroots organization, you might say. I think the idea behind this movement is that they want to take back the lost institutions by their own march through the institutions, you might say. There used to be, of course, this idea of the left that was called the march through the institutions. And his idea is probably he wants to change that culture. He wants to change the left-leaning postmodern culture of individualism, of liberalism. And he knows that the institutions that are being that we have are for a large part under control of people who are more left-leaning. So his idea is not just to start a political party. His idea is to start to change political culture. Yeah. His ideal is actually to, and he was very open about this in several interviews, in several articles. He wants a renaissance, a bringing back of traditional Western civilization. In that sense, you could call him a contra or a counter-revolutionary, but he doesn't believe in revolution. So it's not gonna be a very confrontational sort of movement. It's going to be more. I mean, he has to confront, of course, but it's going to be more. He's a traditional conservative, a moderate conservative. He wants to do things step by step. That's what he believes in. So he won't change. He knows he's not going to be able to change things right away. He just wants to move, to steer things in the right direction. That's what he wants. So what are his views? His political views. Firstly, he wants direct democracy, or more direct democracy. He thinks that the politics in the Netherlands, but also in the European Union, is being dominated by a cartel of political parties, which sort of, they sort of rotate jobs amongst each other. They actually look very much alike. They think almost alike, not exactly, but for a large part. They make almost always the same coalitions. And that's not democratic enough. He wants more of direct democracy. He wants to break up the cartel. Well, interesting. He wants more national sovereignty. He's an European Union skeptic. He wants to leave the European Union, but he wants to hold a referendum about it for the Netherlands. Migration is, of course, he's very critical about the migration system. He wants it more like Australia and Canada, where everything is all the asylum seekers remain in their region, and they are sort of invited. And sort of we can choose, we can control the migration. The climate, well, he doesn't believe in the climate. The connection between carbon dioxide and climate change that we're witnessing today. He doesn't believe in that, but he's not against environmental change or the change in the energy system, the energy transition. But he's he's very critical about this climate hysteria, he calls it. He's a party of entrepreneurs. And I would say there's sort of a mix between libertarians and conservatives and liberals, you might say. I think that is largely what he believes in politically and what his party believes in. Tomorrow there's going to be the elections for the Netherlands and for the British. But I wanna make another video about the debate and analyze it and give you a report or something. Do something nice. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Give me some feedback as well, if you want. Americans, Europeans, doesn't matter. You know, it's we got more in common than we think. All right, bye.